Hey guys, well, as some of you guys have asked me to compare some of the packs, some of my crew is looking to replace their packs, and so I thought I'd give an opportunity to contact a couple of the companies that do search and rescue packs and fire packs, and to get a couple samples. This is a test and evaluation pack I received from Wolfpack. After this sort of review, it will be going back. We're going to try to be comparing it with the Coasher Ranger, and then of course the Mr. Ranch Hot Top that I already have. There's a review of that up there. This is their Alpha-10 pack, and so this is basically their Big Daddy pack. They've had a couple other ones that they have discontinued, and this is their basically main fire pack for handline crews and things of that nature. It is a little on the heavy side when compared to some of the other packs. It's sort of middle of the range. My Mr. Ranch pack, I believe, is 1700 cubic inch. This is 22, and then the Coasher is actually a little bit bigger than this pack. But you'll see when we get into the review where the extra weight on this pack comes from, because they really pay a lot of attention to detail. The sewing on this pack is impeccable, and it really, I think, would outlast a lot of people out there in the fire industry, and has been doing so for many years. We'll just kind of jump right in. Of course, you can see the very high reflective piping across the entire gamut of the pack. The front pouch is again heavily sewn. I believe it is all 1000D Cordura, and a very large pouch. Easily, I think, a little bit bigger than the Mystery Ranch pouch as far as the admin capacity of that pouch. And what you can see in here is, again, more reinforcement for basically the sleeve that runs the entire loop of the main pack, which is their compression system. So this webbing runs through this, behind this pocket, and back around, and you'll be seeing that as we do this review and as I turn this around. That allows you to cinch the entire pack down. There's some good and some bad with it, but again, their attention to detail to put basically some it looks like seatbelt material over that to allow that to slide easily when compressed. There is a little bit of zipper protection on the outside by the extra material. Jumping over to the side, the ubiquitous dump pouches that all these Fireland packs have. This one, again, a little extra weight because there's an inside pocket material and an outer tougher material. So you've got basically a double-walled fabric protecting this pocket. Now again, I'm taking standard water bottles, and holds 5 very easily. You will see that on here, this is sewn into the pack a little bit lower on your back, which allows a little bit easier access. It is a little bit higher on the far side to allow things not to fall out, basically. You can squeeze a 6th one in if you want, but it doesn't fit very well. But again, that's about the typical size of some of these dump pouches. Alright, on the side of the dump pouch here, these are both the same, identical on each side, is essentially a radio pouch and an extra battery clamshell pouch below it. Now you can use this for flagging tapes, you can use this for water, put a SIG in here if you want. Again, attention to detail on this stuff. Nice snaps on here. The inside, hoping you can pick that up, is actually an elastic gusset. Sort of if you've ever used an actual drop pouch from the military to hold like a rifle magazine, when you put stuff in that gusset that's shock corded, keeps things from coming back out. So I mean, you can put snacks, you can put whatever you want, spare batteries, loose batteries, but it won't be falling out when you bend over to work dig the line and other things that we do out there on the fire line. So very well thought out. Again, it is identical on either side, so depending on whether you're left-handed or right-handed, I'm not sure if that's quite overkill, because generally you're not going to carry more than one radio, but because you could use this pouch for something else, that access is there. Just above the dump pouch on the side is again a zippered pouch. This is going to be for your fusees, files, anything sharp is generally what I keep in here. Like the Mystery Ranch pad, there is extra foam reinforcement. The difference is, you saw in that review that you can see the foam once you open this zipper. Again, attention to detail, they've got this as a Velcro sleeve in here, so this can be removed. You could put additional stiffeners in there if you want, but it is in its own sleeve, where the Mystery Ranch, when you open that zipper, you can immediately see that foam reinforcement. Those are identical on each side. Alright, moving to the top lid of the pack. There is a zippered access. Again, nice big tabs on the YKK. A couple companies do that. It's easier to use with gloves. And this does gusset out, so it's a little over an inch tall, about the size of basically my fist, so maybe a VHS tape, if you guys remember those. But again, you can see reinforced webbing to allow the compression webbing to slide underneath the lid pocket here and the rest of the pack. You could easily put, a couple wedges or something up there, notebook, things of that nature would fit just fine. The lid is held by two buckles. These are National Molding buckles. They're very nice. Z-pattern box stitching on all this stuff. And again, there is reinforcement in this lid to hold this shape. This is extremely stiff material here, which again is going to add to the weight, but it holds its shape to allow you to get over that pack, so when you do pull your compression down, it's ready to go. The nice thing about these buckles, where they're positioned, is you can get the original cinch of the bag, but it still allows you to get into the bag without really interrupting that cinch, because once you cinch it back up and cinch these, your compression is back to where it was. Alright, once you peel that lid back, you're going to see sort of a tab here that is Velcroed, and either if you want to use that for quick access, you can. It is designed for the hydration bladder, so it is split on each side. Again, more attention to detail. Either you're going to run hydration out the left or the right, or run two. This does come with a 3 liter, and we'll get to that in a second. That is a Camelback. Again, this is a single snap here, and this is a top roll design. So this is very similar to anybody that's used to dry bags or rafting bags. These two come together. There is not as much stiffener in here as you normally see, nor is it sort of Hypalon rubber covered as a dry bag would be, but basically top roll design. Fold these up, roll them, and then cinch. So there's not going to be any side debris or tree debris when you're scurrying under junipers getting into your bag, keeping everything very clean. Open up there. Hopefully you can kind of see that. This is the difficult part of trying to film this type of review. What you're going to see is in the back here portion, again, the same sort of material. This is the hydration sleeve back here, and we'll get to that when I pull this out. I have 4 2-liter water bottles in here, and there's still room for my hand to get in there. If you can kind of get an idea of how much room in there, I could probably get a 5th one if I really need to squeeze. But it feels about the same, maybe a touch bit bigger than the Mystery Ranch at this point. Alright, with the bottles out, you're going to see one of my first drawbacks is the top roll design doesn't feel like I can get into it as much. Just the size of that actual sewn opening feels like I'm somewhat limited. It's not a deal breaker, but again, just my 2 cents. The biggest thing you're going to notice is I don't really even have to use a flashlight to get in there like I did previously with the Mystery Ranch. They use this higher sort of silver gray fabric as a liner, which is extremely helpful when you're down inside your pack trying to find items or anything of that nature. If you're looking for specific, where your earplugs went, it is pretty bright in there. Alright, so again, this is one of the only companies that can actually include Camelback into theirs that's approved by Camelback. A lot of companies sell the Camelback, but you will not get it with your pack. These guys are able to do that. This is one of their newer Camelback 102 ounce 3.1 liter. I like these because this is like the antidote. It is baffled in the center, keeps the water from sloshing quite as much, and it is a little bit wider than it is sort of deep once it's full. And I really appreciate that. You guys saw the review of my 6-liter Camelback, which I love, and that's one of the big things I love about it, is the earlier Camelbacks were the very narrow, skinny models, and when it was full of water, it caused to bulge out, about the size of an Nalgene. So because of that, this pocket accommodates a little bit bigger bladders in here. One issue I ran into with the Mystery Ranch is the bladder sleeve was fairly narrow for those tall and skinny ones, and I was not able to use the 6-liter in there. I would not be able to get the 6-liter in there anyway, because it is basically 2 of these guys. Again, if Camelback is listening to this review, one issue that we'll kind of address here is there is no valve on the bottom here. The biggest drawback of running a Camelback or hydration bladder is that you need to pull it out of your pack to fill it easily without having to get water all over your pack, and there's no valve to shut off like the previous one. Alright, again, Camelback, if you're listening, for one, make the 200-ounce 6-liter again. For guys that are in the field for 16 hours a day, it is almost a minimum. Without having to carry a 3-liter bladder or dealing with 2 of them and having to switch them out throughout the day, or carrying water and a bladder, this guy and a Gatorade will get a very large, thirsty gentleman like myself through most of the day without issue, in even the hottest environments. The best feature about this is your valve here down at the bottom. This valve allows me to take the drinking tube off, take the entire bladder out, go fill it, whether it be a faucet, a hose, filling up with the standard drinking bottles or what, and then I can load that back in my pack without having to undo the hose, or without having to worry if I have any water in here that I'm going to get water all inside my pack. Alright, now onto the fire shelter case that is at the bottom. You do have the ability to molly on, take the pouch on and off if you want to move it. But one of the first things I was disappointed is part of that compression system that comes around here. There's no way to keep it on the bag. So often I had one that came off if the compression was loose. I went to compress the bag and then my fire shelter wasn't on there quite right. So with all the other additions that they have, what I would do is have some way of keeping your compression straps fed through or attached to the fire shelter. But it was included, at least in the sample that I got. So I have my fire shelter in here. So it will fit the new generation with the case, and you're good to go with that. All right, getting over to the nitty gritty of the actual, the part that really matters is the actual suspension. I will say the athletic mesh that's on here, everyone seemed to really like it. They did say that the padding itself is extremely comfortable. It is very thick, if you can see. I mean, this has some of the thickest and widest pads of any of the packs that I've seen in a long time, whether it be fire or not. 2-inch waist strap. Again, is a small little caveat is I would run this back to a buckle here so that you can pull cinch forward. Anyone that's used any modern day backpacking style backpacks, most manufacturers are going to that style. Instead of having to pull these to the side, you're pulling forward, and it's easier. You get a much more secure fit without having to kind of cinch one side at a time. You are carrying, generally at the beginning of the day, quite a bit of weight in these packs until you start drinking and having lunch. That definitely helps. But there is a MOLLE web on the side, so whether you're putting on extra pouches, multi-tools, etc. This MOLLE field does come quite a bit ways back. It is heavily triple stitched. You'll see with some of the photo inserts that we include in this review. Again, very comfortable. The very sides of it are heavy duty, sort of a D-ring style that attaches your shoulder straps to. Very heavy stitched on there. Had no issues with any of those. Coming forward, if you can see, it is sort of this H-style harness that a lot of fire packs have. Again, fire packs are generally a glorified sort of lumbar pack, so you're getting this close to your hips, and then the rest of the weight and goes to the shoulders. But look how wide those are. Nice, big, wide shoulder straps. There is, on the Mystery Ranch they called it the egg roll. This is not removable. This is sewn into the shoulder webbing here, but this basically helps keep your hydration bladder secure so it's not moving around. There are D-rings at the very top, and we'll flip this around so you can kind of see the suspension system, but Very comfortable. It does take a little bit to get used to when you compare it to like the more backpacking style of the Mystery Ranch. You know, I'm not a huge proponent of these lumbar style packs with more of a top H harness on them. So while this has some of the thickest and most plushest of the foam as far as comfort goes, I think they lack some stiffener in here. Many of you guys know it's not just about the comfort or the amount of padding that requires you to carry a load. This will be more comfortable against, you know, your hip bones and whatnot, and your shoulder. You know, it's the same nice thick padding on the shoulder blades. But when you start putting a lot of weight in a pack that doesn't have any structure to it, then you're going to lose out on that actual ability to carry a load, and these will start to deform and collapse around you. So while they all are comfortable, they fall short when comparing them to the other two packs. Especially the Coasher has an extremely thick stiffener here in just to help carry that load and support that the whole harness structure doesn't deform. As you can see, coming out of the back of the pack, here's the top lid, here's the front of the pack. We're back looking towards the harness here. Not only do you have the main support for this H harness style, is nice big webbing here. There is a bigger buckle, cinch buckle right there. There's one on each side. But the webbing that I've been talking about through this entire review, basically that attaches to this buckle as well, cinches ultimately through this top cinch, and you can kind of get it where you want it. Any additional cinching you can do at the buckle. But what that does is a couple things. One, it compresses it like any other backpack you know, that you guys are familiar with. Compresses all that load, and it should be, number one, sort of secure so things aren't flopping around. It's just a whole lot more comfortable that way. The idea is to get most of this and all the weight sucked up as close to your back as possible, so you don't have a lot of weight way out here that's pulling your back the whole time. The one thing that I did mention and talk to them about is if you're trying to truly get a tight cinch on here, this will override any cinch that you have on the H harness. So if you adjust the larger strap to your height and your shoulders, and you want to get a tighter cinch down on here, that can actually compromise. If this is cinched tight for the load, here's your H harness now. So now your shoulders are being drawn back because it's less space than you originally had designed into the shoulder harness. And this is sort of an issue with a lot of these sort of lumbar packs with an H harness as a weight support without having a true you know, backpacking full internal frame like the Mystery Ranch. And again, you're not gonna, you know, if you go with this style, that's just one of the things you got to look for. So what happens is when that cinches down at your fire shelter, it's going to keep your fire shelter from wobbling and hitting you in the back of the thighs or the butt or however you have this carried, depending on your height. So you know, it is a very good system. If you saw the Mystery Ranch one, they've got kind of an angled sleeve and auto locking buckles, and I do prefer that. My biggest complaint is I would take this compression strap and secure it to the back of the actual main pack, so that your compression straps have nothing to do with how you have the H harness fitted. You know, he wrote me back and said, well, that was their main concern, is being able to pull that higher to keep the fire shelter off your legs. So it's kind of a take or give with that, because if you do want it tight to keep that fire shelter from wobbling, you may be over tightening to where the H harness is comfortable. While we're back here on this back harness piece, the webbing that attaches the yoke is brought together here by a little bit of strap material, and that's about the only handle you have for picking up your pack or hanging it in a crew buggy situation. So it's not totally ideal. I don't know if they intended that to be that way, but it's the only thing I could find that was really secure that I trusted. There are plenty of other D-rings and things on here. I could attach it, but you know, in the end, for longevity of the pack, that was about it. So when you grab your pack and pick it up, and you want to be able to hang it in a crew buggy, you got to find a place, and that was the only thing I'd found to do that with. So, in the very back support behind the water bladder is your main internal support for the bag. This is a hard plastic. It's got some nice closed-cell foam on here, and then these are aluminum stays that are sewn in here. So you've got a little bit of lateral support, and of course you can't bend it this way. So it's nicely done. It definitely helps keep that pack, close on your back. So in conclusion, wrapping up the review here on the Alpha-10 from Wolfpack Gear. It is very well made. Of course, it's made in the USA. It is about a pound heavier from the other packs I've tested. With all the other gear we carry on the Fireline, that really isn't a deal breaker, especially because the way the pack is made and very bomb proof. The materials that they've used, the extra attention to detail is good. I would definitely put in some sort of even a Velcro attachment to get the fire shelter secured on the compression straps. Again, as I spoke to the compression straps, I'd rather have them tied into the back of the main bag, simply because the way it is with the yoke, you can't actually compress all the bag itself, because you are, especially off yourself, off your person, because you're relying on the weight of the bag pulling against that yoke to make that compression happen. It is a little bit more expensive. It's just over $300 compared to the Mystery Ranch and the Coasher Ranger that we're testing, right at $250. But also remember, you're getting a water bladder included in that, an actual Camelback name brand water bladder, which is going to run you $40-50. So, when you talk apples to apples, where the other packs don't include a water bladder, you're basically back at that $250 range. So, it is a pretty cool pack. Hopefully you've seen all the features, and I know this is probably going to be a lengthy review, but if you're interested in a wildland pack and you're looking for an upgrade from your cruise pack, the Wolfpack is something to look at. Thanks for watching, guys.